In the latest Q&A, there were some really good questions about crafting, base building, and even resource managing. All of this is intended to be the core of the game. You don't have to focus on it, but it is always there, and as an option. You can have your base near a good location for resources, and thus you might not need to travel as much. You can equally have a base for just storing your goods and nothing more. Overall, we are supposed to have templates to use to build what we want, from a rather small hunting lodge to a gigantic resource farm. And even if you don't like base building, it is very likely that you will find others and still be impacted by their creations. This raises a question of how will this work in the world with shards. The general idea is to have all of the bases visible in a region across all of the shards. If you set up shop, players from other shards can visit there. However, for raiding, the base owner and the raiders will need to be on the same shard. This is the current idea, and probably will change depending on the technology and innovative ideas. Offline raids are supposed to be available on lawless star systems, and not really on the safe systems, since the planetary shield tech is supposed to protect you from bombardment and shield your buildings also inside of that shield, making your bases invulnerable when it is active. Land claims are another part of this, and they are intended to have two types of plots: the general plot to build everything, and prospecting plot. These are smaller and cheaper as they're meant for resource gathering. Both of them will also have taxes, and if you fail to pay these taxes, you will lose the rights to your base. Your base can be looted, the land can be bought by others, and if you had a lot of items, things, resources, this can be a rather massive loss. The land claims are equally supposed to cover a bigger surrounding area, so you can't be directly boxed in. They do want to allow us to customize our own buildings in our own style, in the form of colors and possibly some decals in the future. We will be able to build small to large bases and offer services in the form of using our high quality machinery for other players' processes, while we can also have certain stealth buildings or elements to this to reduce the signature of our base, or an option even to do the opposite. When we are building, objects like trees and rocks will get removed, but there is also an option to lay down a concrete platform to make it easier for us to build. Else the system will allow us to position our buildings in a proper way in certain locations with certain limitations. Mining and salvage will change as well. We know they want to make it easier to find what we need. This will definitely mean scanning improvements, scanning changes. There will be separation between different types of mining, and since there will be quality, this will add another important layer for all of these roles. In the form of salvage, there will be certain resource separations to get other materials than what we get right now. Certain resources or exclusive materials won't be recoverable, so all the items might not be worth the scrap. Mining nodes can respawn, but it is very unlikely to spawn in your current base location, but rather in a new location. So we would keep moving our small base around. The plan is to have a balanced amount of resources which we can gather, but I am pretty sure there will still be excessive amount of certain resources like the iron or copper. Deconstructing your building was another thing. It is similar to making your building, as a drone will do most of the work, and we will get some materials back from this process as well, but not the full amount, and if some really rare materials were used, possibly not those materials as well. Crafting and blueprints were another interesting topic, as items crafted will of course depend on the materials used, and a specific material on a specific component will have a specific effect. But if you have upgraded blueprints, you will need to use better materials and craft a higher tier item right away, while also upgrading your older items is an option. Upgrading a ship like Aurora to tier 5 is supposed to make it useful or perhaps even competitive against other lower tier ships. The modules and weapons will of course add to this. It always concerns me when they talk about the ship tier differences, but there isn't too much information available at the moment. Plans are also to have limited use blueprints, some which can be used certain amount of times, and they can be periodical as they may have a cooldown. Most blueprints also won't be able to be traded. If you find a blueprint on a datapad, it can be traded. And it is also a single-use item, as once downloaded, it is gone. And once again, if you buy a ship, they won't give you a blueprint to craft it. There were quite a few more bits and pieces of information, like crafting machines will work with permissions to stop any theft. Player trade is to have two options, visit and buy, or order and pay more, which is meant to work alongside the trade app. Asteroid bases are currently not planned, drones will continue building as long as there are resources if you are offline, and if the host ship is gone, the drone will self-destruct. Base building, when someone parks on your building, that's not possible as the base or the building you are crafting will be physicalized hologram. There isn't a plan for smaller scale space stations at the moment, and there were quite a few more bits and pieces of information in the Q&A video, which I will leave to a link down below. Anyway, don't forget to like, subscribe, and thanks for watching.